What's going on, everybody? It's Rick from Garden with Barchuckin. On the last feeding, when I went ahead and I lifted the burlap out, the weight of kind of the moisture in the castings actually ripped it. So when I pull this off, here's that other piece. And I basically just left that over top the feeding area. So I don't think there should really be any food left. And before I start mixing this up, I see over on this side some dry bits. So I want to bring that over to this active feeding area. So, tons of dry bedding still. Oh, there's the rice hulls. Oh, the apple slice. And there's a worm sticking through it. Now, this is how I'm used to the pumpkin stems. The top has really broke down. This is very soft. There's worms making their way through it. This bottom's still a little firm. But yeah, this is breaking down quite nicely. Oh, this is that newspaper that I put in. Oh, that's just that stick. I'll put that back into the feeding area. Okay, well, glad to see there's still leaves. There's still those rice hulls. Here's the other piece of apple. I can't remember if I said it the other time or not when I put it in. That was fresh. It was just right out of the refrigerator. So not kind of surprising that it's still hanging around. There's another little piece of it. Oh, here was another piece of the apple. Yeah, the worms are doing a good job with it. Man, I guess I went crazy with apple. But that's fine. This here will make a good little base for this week's feeding. I'm finally going to get a chance to harvest this side, so I want to give them a nice big feeding, heavy moisture, so hopefully I can draw any of those worms into this area. So I'm not removing any worms when I harvest the castings over here. On top of the feeding area, I'm going to add some of the coffee from the K-cups. And I'm also going to add some grit for the worms. That's ground up eggshell. Tomato skin. I always try to cover the food up. This helps to prevent any unwanted bugs from getting into the system. Then I'm also going to go ahead and top this with a little bit of worm chow. Okay, so now that the feeding area is covered back up, I want to kind of look at this, and yeah, because of that high moisture, look at how easily this just kind of breaks and comes apart. That's what happened when I went to lift it. I went to pull up, and boom, it just ripped right apart just like that. This will go ahead and help to cover this area. Because I'm going to be harvesting this, I think I'm just actually going to cover the feeding area right now. Just with that, and because this is filled with worms and bugs and critters, put it on there. Hopefully they start leaving this area into the castings and then into that feeding area that I just made up for them. I will go ahead and film that and bring you guys along for the harvesting of the castings and replacing it with the new bedding. Okay, well, we're back. Super Bowl Sunday. Hope everybody's doing well. Going to enjoy the Super Bowl. Also, this gives me a chance to check to see how the worms are doing with that newest feeding. There's a lot of worms right in on that worm chow. Not too much worm chow left there, really, after basically less than 24 hours. We'll get to check some of this feeding area. Okay, there's definitely some worms coming in there, which I'm happy to see. Ooh, and before I forget, I started something else. About a week ago, I planted winter rye. So you can basically see the seeds. They sprouted. There's a big root mass. Some nice green growth. And with this being my natural bedding bin, I'm going to pull this back a little bit and set that on top of the feeding area for them. I have right on this side where I'm placing the castings, I guess I should say more the vermicompost. And I can just do it a scoop at a time. If I am taking any worms right now, I'm going to put a bait cup in here too, so I can hopefully kind of bait them back and place them back in this bin. Or if I see them in a group like that, I'll just toss them back. Or that darn newspaper. Leave that in to keep breaking down. This scoop here has a good amount of worms in it. Oh, I'm just going to leave that scoop there. So we'll see how the worms like this. This is the mushroom substrate that I picked up. I don't want them, if they don't like it, I don't want to kind of force them in it right now. So what I'm going to do is put that way on the outside, because this is a gallon container. And this will give me a chance to see on the next check-in, basically in about 2.5 weeks, if there's worms all in it, then I know they kind of like it and it can get mixed in much sooner. But that's a good amount of the mushroom substrate, so I actually don't want to mix that in personally right now. It should be perfectly fine, but yeah, so just to play it safe, I'd rather not chance it. So, very happy with how this looks. We'll sprinkle a little bit of this on top of the leaves over closer to it. So as I said, I'm going to go ahead, get a bait cup ready for the castings, which is still over here. Get that all together, so hopefully any of the worms that were already in the castings or the ones that I just transferred over, they can go ahead, get collected back into the bait cup, and then I can bring it and place it back into this bin. Thanks for coming along and checking out the video. If you guys have any questions, make sure you drop them down in the comments. Everybody have a great day.